Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Washington, D.C. Councilmember at Large, Robert White. Councilmember, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
I understand you must have had a busy week so far, and it's only Thursday. There's a lot going on in the nation's capital, and I would love if you could provide some clarity as to what exactly that is. Because earlier this week, President Trump announced that he was federalizing the DC police force. He also was deploying the National Guard to the nation's capital. And he said that's because crime is out of control in DC. Those are his words. And this came after a 19-year-old former Doge staffer was assaulted by a group of teens in the city. So, to start off the conversation, what are your thoughts on what exactly is happening right now?
Look, I regret when anyone is injured or harmed in DC. One crime is too much, and that's something we know in DC. That's why we have been working so aggressively to push crime down. Violent crime is down 26% in DC just since last year. And so the facts that the president is giving the country aren't true. Like everyone else in the country, we have more work to do, but sending military federal officers into the streets of DC and telling them from the president of the United States to rough people up and violate their rights, that is not appropriate, nor is it going to make us safer. It's going to cause significant outrage. It's going to move us backwards.
And what's the mood amongst your constituents? Are they welcoming this change? Are they not? I mean, what are they saying?
Well, everyone wants to feel safe. And I think there's a small population in DC who says, look, the more law enforcement, the better, because that will make us safer. But what most people know in DC, and what I think we'll see play out if there's not a pivot from the White House, is that there's going to be a lot of disruption. There's going to be incredibly aggressive policing, which we have already seen across history what the end result of that is going to be. It's going to be anger. It's going to be frustration. It's going to be backlash. Is going to be protests. So what we're seeing is the federalization and militarization of law enforcement in DC. The end is not going to be good. And so we wish the White House wanted to be a partner, but that is not what it looks like they want to be.
Has anyone, speaking of partnerships, has anyone in the White House or the Trump administration reached out to you or any other member of the city council to see how you guys can work together?
No, in fact, many weeks ago, I reached out to the White House to start meeting with staff to understand what their concerns were and how we could work with them. That meeting did not get scheduled. On their end, they said, "No, we're not going to take this meeting." But what residents in DC see, what I think people across the country see, is that this claim about public safety is not on the up and up. So if you praise and pardon people who beat bloody local and federal police officers on January 6th, and then turn around and say, my concern in DC is public safety, say that people committing crimes in DC are thugs and we need to rough them up, that is inconsistent at best. This is not about public safety. This is about using DC as a political pawn. And what folks across the nation, including where you are in New York, know from the president's words at the press conference on Monday is that he doesn't plan to stop this at DC. He does plan to go to New York, to California, to Illinois, to Maryland. And so this is really the tip of the spear.
And what's your message then to those other cities? Because other cities that you've mentioned, and it seems like other cities that the president said that this is not over, are going to be blue cities, Democrat-run cities. What's your message to them?
Well, every city, it's not just Democratic cities, it's cities across the nation. I think the president is saying if he doesn't agree with your policies, he'll move troops into your city. And what folks should understand is this is not the appropriate measure in a democracy. And when you have places like DC, like Baltimore, that are having great success in pushing crime down, then the appropriate thing to do is to partner with us. There was a time in this country where people didn't have to agree on everything in order to work on some things together. But we're moving further away, and that is not to the good of our nation. That is not to the good of our democracy. So my message to people across the nation is be wary about ignoring the tip of the spear because many of those folks will be next on the list.
I'm curious what you think of the timing of President Trump's actions because the DOJ announced at the beginning of 2025 that violent crime in DC hit a 30-year low in 2024. Homicides are down, carjackings are down, and I know you said one crime is one crime too many, one crime is too much, but the U.S. Attorney for DC, Janine Pirro, this is what she said. She said that this is a message that the administration, the Trump administration, is not going to tolerate crime, and she said, you tell the kid who was just beat to hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears, and my ears are deaf to that, and that's why I fight the fight. What do you make of that argument that you see some Republicans pushing, saying, hey, I don't know why Democrats are getting involved and being on the other side of crime fighting?
Well, I think everybody, regardless of where they live or their political background, wants to feel safer. So what we need to do is follow the facts and follow the data. If the data say that crime is dropping, then that's an indication we need to do more of that thing. If we all understand that nobody has a monopoly on good ideas, but we also don't ignore the truth of the data, then we're moving in the right direction. So for anybody who has been a victim of crime in DC or anywhere in the nation, for anyone whose loved ones have been victims of crime, you, like me, want us to be safer very quickly. But when we diverge from what's working, we don't move to the place that all of us want to move, which is continuing to push crime down. If we were moving in the wrong direction, this would be a different conversation, but we are moving in the right direction.
And I want to talk about what's happening next when it comes to homeless people because Trump said that he wants to see homeless people move out. And then White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she was asked about how they will be dealt with. And this is what she said. Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services. And if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. And she said those are pre-existing laws that just haven't been enforced. What do you make of that?
I think when we're saying we're going to fine homeless people for being homeless, we're not serious about solutions. It's laughable. And I wish I could laugh to stop from crying. The reality is nobody's first choice is to live outside. If someone's living outside, something is wrong and we need to fix it. This is a nation that has the resources to address homelessness, to address needs, but we have to be serious about it. Putting our foot down on people who are already at the bottom will never help them get to the top. We've got to be serious about solving problems. This is not a serious approach.
And then what would you say then to the administration there when it comes to helping unhoused people? I mean, what's the solution there?
What the District of Columbia has done is used a housing first model. That is to say, we work with people on mental health needs. Most people who are unhoused in the District of Columbia face mental health and or addiction issues. If we don't help them with that, even if you throw them in the hospital, you throw them in jail, you put them in an apartment, they're not going to succeed. They're going to end up right back there. In politics, what people are tired of is folks talking a good game and not delivering and kicking the can down the road. We have to move both past both of those things. We have real solutions in DC, but it requires federal partnership. Unlike every other city, DC doesn't have a state to support its efforts. So everything we do, we are funding from the pockets of DC taxpayers, and we need more partnership, real partnership from the federal government.
And you said in a statement after President Trump's announcement here that this is a moment that shows why DC needs statehood. Can you talk about that take?
The DC statehood has been the priority of only DC residents for generations. My hope is that the rest of the country now realizes why DC statehood matters because we don't enjoy the same democratic rights as any other Americans. No senators, no voting member of Congress. That means we are susceptible to the bullying tactics of any presidential administration that wants to bully us. But here, DC is used as a political pawn because we are prey. And we are used as pawns in a way that folks across the nation are going to see. If DC had statehood, the president could not take control of its National Guard, could not federalize its police department, and we would have at least some say in Congress over what's happening in DC that's going to happen in other parts of the nation soon.
Councilmember, I can only imagine, like I said at the top of this conversation, just how busy you are. So I appreciate you taking the time today. As we see the situation develop in DC and perhaps other cities around the country, I hope you can come back on and join me. Councilmember Robert White, you're welcome back anytime.
Thanks, Brittany. I appreciate you.